Inferring is reading between the lines. We infer in many parts of our lives, and it helps us tremendously. We make inferences every day in the real world, such as when we look to determine a person's mood before asking a favor. The ACT will test our ability to make inferences from text as well. There are several strategies to use to make sense of unstated information when reading. First, you must visualize what you're reading. Use your senses to try and put yourself in the position of the author, character, or subject in the reading selection. Remind yourself to do this before reading the selection, and we can make inferences from several categories. Let's go to the classroom for further explanation. All right, let's look at some of the strategies that we can use for infer questions. Finding implied details. There's a process for finding implied details that we can use that seems to have worked out real well. First, identify exactly what the question's asking. Last thing you want to do is misinterpret what they're asking and give false information and getting it wrong. So take the time to make sure you know exactly what that question's looking for. Then, refer to the part in the passage that provides some information regarding that question. The questions are usually in order of the essay, meaning the first question that's an infer question will be from an early part in the essay, the next one for a next part of the essay as a starting point. If you don't remember exactly where a particular topic is discussed, use that thought process to find things quickly. Look for keywords then that are related to the idea of the question and find the answer that could be true. Questions that are asking for inferences, one type is where they're asking you to define relationships. So in these questions, you're asked to identify how one thing in the reading selection affects another. And then you draw conclusions as to how the relationship variables will act in a situation not specifically stated in the selection itself. These are usually cause and effect relationships. If you can find a parallel, something similar that is going on in your selection and to what their question prompt is, you can make some general judgments that it would be similar. Or if something is acting counter to it, then similarly you would say it would probably act counter to what they're asking you in the question. So it's important, again, to make sure you read the question thoroughly and then looking for these relationships of cause and effect. More on defining relationship questions and the process. Keep in mind that you want to visualize what's there when you're reading it. So when you read, visualize what's happening, and if the selection has characters, which you're going to find in the prose fiction section, imagine the feelings of the characters, as well as noticing the voice and tone of the selection. Now, if there's not characters, which is likely for everything but the prose fiction, still mark relationships in the section where you can rephrase part of the selection to state, okay, X happened, and as a result, Y happened. You'll find that in all of the other selections, especially when there's cause and effect relationships, when they're giving facts, and as a result, another thing happened. Regardless of the topic, you can find some relationships while you're reading. If you can mark that, it's easier to get back to it. Notice it while you're reading it. You then may be asked to make logical judgments as to those relationships while reading. Another type of question that has to do with inferring is when they're asking you to figure out some vocabulary from context. These questions will ask you the meanings of specific words. Now, when asked what a word means within a selection, it's possible to figure out the most likely answer from the sentence that it's in, as well as the surrounding sentences. These questions look like, well, the word X in line Y could best be replaced by, or is closest in meaning to. To figure those out, you have to read a sentence or two before it, the sentence itself, and a sentence or two after it. Make some judgments. Look for words that indicate that they mean the same thing. If there's commas, for example, then you have a list of things that are usually similar. And then process of elimination when answering that question. Get rid of the ones that cannot be true and find the best answer from the ones left. To answer these, read the line before and after as well as the line in question. Carefully look for commas and word clues such as or, that, in other words. These indicate a restatement. You want to eliminate definitely wrong answers and choose from the best remaining. In closing, inferring questions will be a part of the reading test and can show up in any of the selections. Visualize the selection and keep note of the relationships while reading the selection at a quick pace to make these types of questions easy.